Hey everyone, my name is Alexandra and I'm a watercolor artist. I recently got a comment from you guys asking me to teach how to paint watercolor herbs. So welcome to the first tutorial of this new series on how to paint watercolor herbs. Today we are going to learn how to paint a rosemary branch. Let's get started. For supplies today, you guys will need 2 cups of water. I have one for clean, one for dirty water, a napkin for drying your paintbrush. For paintbrushes, I'm using Princeton rounds, numbers 2 and 6. Paper, I have 140-pound Arches cold press watercolor paper. For paints, I'm using Art Philosophy & Co.'s Terrain watercolor palette. You guys will mostly need a mixture of green paint and a little bit of red and possibly yellow. And lastly, I have a Micron 05 pen here. Not absolutely necessary, but if you guys want to add any writing to your painting at the end, then that is helpful. So to start, we're going to take our smaller paintbrush and we're just going to really lightly paint in where the branches are. That way we kind of know where to put the leaves on top of. So I'm using my number 2 brush and I'm actually going to go in with sort of a light brownish color. I don't quite have one on this palette, so I'm just going to mix one up. And I want it to be a little bit more red tinted, but I'm going to really water it down to start. And essentially what I'm doing now is just painting the guidelines on my page so that I know where my branch is going to go. So you guys can do this however you'd like. If you want to do more than one branch or just one, that's fine. But I'm just going to do some curved lines, sort of attaching to each other and coming down. Now that I've done this, I can go in with my number 6 brush and we are just going to start by adding the leaves. So I'm going in to my paint. I'm mixing sort of a muted green here, and the key thing with painting these leaves is that we're going to do skinnier leaves that come down towards our branches. And if you see rosemary, often they're angled upwards more. So I'll have them all sort of angling down to the center. The key thing to make this look more natural is to have them not be super uniform, but have a little bit of differences between each branch. So my first one, I'm just painting that line down towards the center. Doesn't need to be perfectly uniform. And we're just gonna work our way and continue to add more. Now with this first layer, we'll keep it nice and light, and then we will likely go over top after with some darker paint just to add more branches, or sorry, more leaves in. Now, one of the keys to making sure that it looks different to something than like a pine branch is to have the leaves be a little bit more oval shaped. And it's okay if you curve some of them, have some of them a little bit more straight. I also like to vary the color of green just a little bit as I'm painting these, because I know that often depending on what angle you're looking at it from, it varies as well. One thing that you guys could do is actually have the physical branch to look at for reference. I'm just keeping an eye on a photo for reference. All right, so now that I've done that first layer, I want to make it look a little bit more 3D. So what I'm going to do is go sort of over where I've already painted, but with a little bit of a darker green this time. And I'm just mixing on my palette here. I'm keeping with a little bit more of a muted green just so that it looks nice and natural. And we're going to add some leaves directly on top of where we've already painted. And I have them sort of overlapping my branch that's set in behind. And I'm just working my way across the branches until I feel that it's nice and full. One of the key things with this is that you guys are being super careful to still leave a good amount of white space on your painting, just so that it doesn't start looking too busy or too muddy. So now that I've done that, I'm going to go in with my smaller paintbrush and we're just going to add some fine details. So with my smaller paintbrush, I'm going to go into my green paint and I'm going to use more of a pigmented paint here just to get it nice and dark. Actually, might even just mix a tiny bit of red into it to give it sort of a deeper color. And I'm gonna go into some of my leaves and just paint kind of a vein going up them. So with my super small paintbrush, I'm just doing some really skinny lines on some of these leaves. Some of them I can just add darker color maybe to one side of them. And this is just a really subtle way to add a little bit more definition. On some of the leaves that are a little bit lighter sitting behind, I can do the same thing, but I'm going to use a paint that's not as dark. And now that I've done that, you can see that this is a super simple way just to add more definition to our painting. So I'm going to go in and add a little bit more to the branch specifically, and then we will be just about done. So with my branch, I've sort of mixed this brown color here. So I'm going to go back in with a bit more of it, but I don't want to cover the entire part that I've painted. I'm just going to add in a little bit of that color to parts of my branch. So I'm sort of just feeding it through the entire painting. I have a bit more of a red toned brown here. And again, that's just to keep it really natural. The reason that I'm not doing a straight line all the way down, all the way through, is because I really want it to look three-dimensional and a lot more realistic. With just using these simple techniques, you guys will find that you can make even really quick, really simple paintings look a lot more realistic. So I'm just adding in that little bit of darker paint throughout, and it'll give my branch some really nice contrast as well. All right, so that is it for our rosemary branch. The last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to write on it. This is something that honestly I would probably put up and frame in my kitchen. It's something that I will show you guys a few more herbs that you can paint, and you possibly could do a series of 3 different paintings. So with that, I do want to write on here. So I'm just going to do handwritten . With just a loose script font. All right, so that is it for our rosemary painting. If you guys have any other herbs that you want to learn how to paint, let me know, leave a comment below, and I'll definitely make sure to include them in a future tutorial. Also, if you haven't already, make sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel. We'll see you next time.